This is episode 106 for August 7th, 2017. This week, the dads talk Game Genie, YouTube Kids, Voltron, and a whole lot more. Next on Legion of Dads.
Dad's home.
Hi, Dad.
Lord of the manor, king of the castle.
Well, that seems appropriate.
I am a dad.
We are dads.
We are many. We are one. We are the Legion of Dads. The Legion.
Dads.
Hello.
We are the Legion of Dads.
Join us.
The Legion of Dads.
An entire legion.
Great, Dad.
We are the Legion of Dads.
Daddy-o.
From now on, we'll be known as the Legion.
So we are many.
We acknowledge this is an appropriate metaphor. We are Legion.
We are the Legion of Dads.
You are not alone. We are all in this together now.
Hello and welcome to the Legion of Dads, a show for the modern dad. We talk movies, comic books, video games, and advice on how to be a great dad. I am your host, Wyatt Cagle, and with always is my co-host, father of four, the sommelier of video games, Richard. Richard, how are you today?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Unfortunately, we're Legion of Two today.
That's right.
Kenneth, unfortunately, is under the weather and is not able to join us today. But I think we're gonna make do with a two-legged race, not a three-legged race.
Sometimes that's a better race.
But let's get into the news. First up, Richard, we have some of our new segment. That's an old segment. Super NES Watch.
That's right.
What do we have? What do we have on the docket today?
That's right. This week in our SNES Watch so last couple weeks, Walmart tried to do pre-orders, and a bunch of people jumped on the bandwagon and ordered Super NES Classic. Well, only to find out that a couple days later that their order didn't go through. And then eventually all the orders were canceled by Walmart. And that's kind of the status of things. But Nintendo has come out this week and announced that they have made enough SNES classics. I'm old school. I call it SNES. I know some kids these days call it the SNES. I hate that. It's
sacrilege.
It's the Super NES.
That is the SNES. Says the Super NES is acceptable.
That's right.
What do they call it? The SNES?
The SNES. It rubs me wrong, man.
No, that's wrong.
I know.
No,
you're reading it wrong. It's it's the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Anyways, long story short, Nintendo has announced that they will be doing pre-orders, even though Walmart has canceled their last round of pre-orders. Once the release date is still September 29th, the price is still $80. Nintendo says they will have enough to meet demand, and they will allow retailers to do pre-orders. So that's kind of this week's article on the SNES Watch.
Yeah, because we really want one of these. I think both of us. Just as a reminder to the Legion out there, what is the SNES Classic? Is it the SNES Classic?
That's right.
What is it?
So Nintendo made a bunch of money last year when they released the NES Classic.
Not as much as they could have if they had just kept making it.
That's right. Well, they had assumed that only people our age, only 30-something-year-olds would be interested in this device. Well, it turns out everybody was interested in this device. And it was only $60. It was a mini Nintendo. It looked like a little Nintendo that you could hold in the palm of your hand. The power. Now you're playing with power in the palm of your hand, and it had just a certain amount of games. It had like 30 games in it, and that's the thing. Like I've been trying to collect some of these games lately, and like to get 30 games, especially some of these high quality games. I mean. You end up spending like $30 each on these games, and some of them are real hard to find. I mean, good luck buying a Zelda game for less than like $25-$30. So the fact that this thing had 30 games, it had Metroid, it had the Marios, it had some
all
Zeldas.
The classics, yeah.
It was just packed full of nostalgia. And the other thing about it was that it's built for current gen TVs. It was HDMI out. It had all sorts of menus and it was engineered for a modern TV.
Now, question: Did it do the? Because back when the NES and the SNES came out, that was a 4:3. Or we pretty much had like square TVs. Did they reformat for the 16:9 for the widescreen TV, or did they like stretch it out? Did Mario get to run further to the right?
Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately,
you never got one.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. Unfortunately, because I was never able to get one, I don't know how it performed. I'm sure I could look it up, but who knows?
Kenneth.
Kenneth, yeah, that's right.
Kenneth.
One guy who would know is under the weather. And maybe he can fill us in next week.
Actually, he's at home playing.
Yeah, that's right. What he's playing right now,
NES.
despite me. But so, anyways, the Super NES Classic is the same idea. It's got fewer games, 21 games, and but it also, so we're talking games like Super Mario World, Pilot Wings,
F-Zero,
F-Zero,
like Super Mario Kart, like pretty much the OG Mario Kart.
Yes, that's right. And
did
some of these
everything.
games,
Donkey
some of these
Kong
games,
Country.
So some of these games are the ones that started it all, that are still around today. I mean, we're talking like Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. I mean, groundbreaking games.
That alone is worth this console.
And
like
then,
the Legend of Zelda.
And then
like that's enough.
On top of that, it's got an unreleased Star Fox 2 that was it was unreleased. We haven't played this. We haven't been able to buy it, but now you can for only $80. And when I said earlier that these games, like the value of these games in this box, like if you thought NES games were expensive at say $25 a game, which they're not all that. I mean, some of the crummier games you can get for $5, but Super NES games, the price is even higher on those. I mean, you're not walking away with a $5 Super NES game. At any resale shop, you're going to be spending $15, $20, $25 per game. So times 21, I mean, it's just the numbers to me. That's where the value is.
And like you said, the fact that this is designed for modern televisions to just plug in, and also it's tiny. It fits in the palm of your hand. I mean, it's the size of like an Apple TV.
That's right.
It'll go into your entertainment system so much easier.
I know, it's going to look so cool right there next to your TV, next to your sound bar, on your entertainment center, next to your 60-inch TV, this mini Nintendo and mini Super Nintendo, and God help me, one day, mini N64, a mini Project Dolphin. I mean, it's so beautiful. But
you can't. But you're like the Switch. No, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Well, but here's the difference. I mean, the Switch, the Switch doesn't have the game catalog yet. Now it's got Zelda. It doesn't have Mario yet. They just released Splatoon. So you've got like 2 games on the Switch, 2 games on a $300 system. Meanwhile, we're talking about $80 for 21 top Super Metroid. Like, I mean, I would pay for 4 of these games. I would pay $80. So I'm super excited. Like, it's going to be ridiculous the closer we get to this. You're going to hear more and more from me. I mean, the countdown is on.
I can hear it in your voice that you are definitely staying up that night. I think I'm going to stay up that night and pre-order it.
I will not be burned again. I am going to get a Super NES Classic. Come hell or high water.
And if you want to hear more about Richard's trials and tribulations, we did a couple episodes back. He described his his so close when he barely got it a few times.
And I'm sure if
I definitely go back and listen to those. They're a good listen.
I'm sure if you stay tuned, we will continue to hear those stories until I get one in my greedy little hands.
So Nintendo, Come on, throw a guy a bone.
Absolutely. This episode is sponsored by the SNES Classic.
Because he's just going to keep doing it. But moving on, we've got still more retro-liciousness going on.
That's right. So I don't know if you're familiar with the company Hypercan, but I have two of their products. They make a device called the Retron 3 is when I first bought it. It is one device that plays Nintendo games, NES games, Super Nintendo games, and Sega Genesis games all on one device. And what I love about that is it's old school. I mean, it's got the composite cables out of it. So I plug that into I keep that around because the modern systems don't work well with Duck Hunt. The technology they used with the light gun technology doesn't work on HD TVs. So I keep this around pretty much solely for Duck Hunt, and eventually I want to build up my catalog of Gun Smoke, or my shooting games.
Yeah.
I want to build those up. So they came out with the Retron 3. Eventually they came out with the Retron 5, which I got for my birthday. Now this thing, it plays not only Super Nintendo, not only Nintendo, not only Sega Genesis, but it plays Famicom, it plays Game Boy, it plays Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color.
Wow.
It plays 10 different systems all in one. Now this one is HDMI. This one is built for the modern TVs. And this one does what you were talking about. If you want, you can play a game in widescreen or letterbox, or you can, it's got built-in codes. It's got, say you played, what I love about it is it's got, you can play a game, stop it, walk away, and then come back, and when you plug that game in, it's still there waiting for you. So games that didn't have save features, I mean, back in the day, except for Zelda, except for a game with batteries built into the pack, like you had to play that game straight through, leave your system on, hope your house didn't burn down so that you could finish the game, so that you could make it through the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, like, underwater dam level.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, the underwater sequences with the...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyways, long story short, I'm full of long stories.
What about Battletoads? Will Battletoads save?
It'll do it. No, every game, you plug it in, it'll pick it up where you left off. And plus, on top of that, it's got built-in Game Genie. Now, for those of you who are younger than Wyatt and I,
you're gonna have to go back and explain.
Because I still have my Game Genie. Back in the day, 20 years ago, there was, if you wanted to, for example, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle underwater dam level, the dam level, if you wanted to beat that level, about the only way you could do it was if you had a way to type in a code to make yourself invincible. And
there was one to have skill,
and the only way you could do that,
most of us didn't have that.
Yes, yeah, that's right. You could get good, or you could get a Game Genie, and it was a little device that you plugged in. Well, you plugged the cartridge into it, and then shoved both of these things into your Nintendo, and then it was a weird contraption, and you could sort of push it down to engage the system, and then power it on. Anyways, and then you had this booklet full of codes that you could type in. Like there was one for Mario Brothers 3, and it was called Skywalker, and you could put in that code, and that way you had infinite jumps. And what I mean by infinite jumps is like, it's not just double jump, but you could triple jump. You could just keep jumping.
You just keep jumping.
Just jump through the air all the way. Anyways, this game's got code. The system has codes built in. Last year, so when the NES Classic came out and demand was huge, demand was through the roof. Retron was like, hey, we have this system that does all this stuff and more. What if we just trim it down to where it only plays NES games? We'll sell it as the Retron HD. So what they did last year was that they came out with a device that plays only Nintendo games, but for the modern for your modern TV in HD on through HDMI on a big screen. Now, you have to provide the games. You still need the cartridges, but it's just modernized your system. Well, anyways, they have announced, of course, good for them, the Super Retron HD coming out alongside, I imagine, at the same time as the SNES Classic. So those of us who were, in case you can't get, like I did last year with the NES Classic, you can always get a Retron HD or a Super Retron HD and still be able to play your, get that nostalgia feel with your modern TV sets.
Now, something that I want to ask you about these Retrons. With emulators and stuff like that, a lot of times these, but a lot of times that they don't feel quite right. Even if you get a USB controller that's in the same shape of the classic NES or the Super NES or whatever, it just never feels quite right. Like they don't have the same, they just don't seem to respond as well. Do you get that same thing with the Retrons and stuff like that, or is this is pretty close to what you remember, other than our reflexes not being nearly as advanced in our
aging
aging years?
I don't know. I don't know if I've told you this story. Perhaps I have. But when I first got the Retron 5, now the original one, that's a good point you bring. I could talk for hours about this. So
well, and we might need to bring.
I know. All right.
Need to make this a sequence. Well, yeah, for a later show, just like you talk about how to find these games.
Yeah.
And like what to look for and what's like shabby and what's not.
Well,
but anyway, but you were saying the
Retron 3, which is the first one I talked about. It's just hardware. So you plug the game in, you plug the controllers in, you play it as it was. There's no emulating. It's a straight interface. I mean, it's exactly how it was. Now, the one curve on that is that you could play Super Mario Brothers with a Sega Genesis controller or a Super Nintendo controller. So you can use any of the controllers that plug into into
the device. Yeah.
So you could use the one that it was meant for, or you could use whatever you have available. Yeah. Now, the Retron 5. When I first got the Retron 5, the Retron 5 actually it's actually emulating the game. When you put the game in, it downloads the game into the system, and then you're basically playing an emulator of the game, of the cartridge. And then it puts it back or something. It does something like that. Now, when I first got it, I put in Mario Brothers because I was like, all right, this game I have played a bajillion times. I have lived this game. I've breathed this game. I know this game like the back of my hand.
Yeah, if it's not going to work, if anything is wrong, you will see the details. You will see the errors.
And I put it in, and I started to play. I was like, man, there is a wicked lag going on. I mean, just straight off the bat, I was like, I'm not jumping fast enough. I'm not jumping on time. Like, there's a delay between me hitting the button and it actually happening. And it was crippling me. And, I mean, this was just at the beginning of the game. I hadn't even gotten to, like, level 9 or 8, where I remember you had to, like, run and then jump onto, like, make this wicked jump and then land on one platform and then make another wicked jump. Like, I couldn't even.
Yeah, because those.
That would have been insane.
Those games were like, no, you have to jump on a pixel.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to be pixel accurate. And if you get a delay, you're never going to be able to play that game.
So, and it was kind of a bummer because my family was in. I just got, like, my parents had got me this for my birthday. Like, we were all sitting around. We wanted to see my reaction to this. And I was a little disappointed because there was this terrible delay that was almost a deal breaker. But then, so my parents went home. Like, my family left. They all went back home. And over the next couple of days, I was doing some research. I saw you had to download firmware. You had to upgrade the software. So I went through these steps of downloading and updating firmware and software. Well, once you jump through those hoops, which I did, then it was back to the game that I remembered. Even though it's emulating it, it was the experience that I remember as a kid. So As far as the Retron HD and the Super Retron HD, I don't know if they're going to play that way fresh out of the box. Perhaps it'll be like the Retron 3, or maybe there might be some firmware, jumping through some hoops with firmware to get it to play as we remember.
So maybe if you're going to give this as a gift, maybe open it up, update the firmware for the person.
Exactly. Yeah, well, maybe, yeah.
Or at least warn them, like, hey, you need to jump through this one hoop before you put a game in, because this may sour you to this.
And that's right.
Even sooner.
I mean, dads or anybody, I mean, if you know about this, I mean, just be forewarned. Like, this could be your experience, but it gets better.
But that seems like a really cool device to have. And yes, the video games are expensive. And if you can get your hand on an SNES Classic or NES Classic, that does seem to be maybe like a better deal. However, not all the games that you may want. You may have different tastes than those games that are on that system. If you have a game that you love, if you can find it on eBay or at a resale shop, these retro the Super Retro HD and the Retro HD, and that sounds like an awesome thing to have around. And how much are they?
Now, the Retron was about $40. And there's no price yet for the Super Retron. But
so still way under a PS4 or an Xbox One S or like any of the modern consoles or something like that.
It's way under that, and it's way under, say, an NES Classic on eBay.
Right.
I mean, it's an alternative.
Well, staying with our narrative or our nostalgia,
we have a theme. There's a theme.
we have a video game nostalgia theme starting the show off. Talk to me about the glory that was Night Trap.
That's right. We're going to shift gears a little bit here into the Sega Genesis days, more specifically the Sega CD days, as I remember it. Now, I saw an article today that the 25th anniversary of Night Trap, which is a game. Even though
it looks like a movie, it is a game.
I didn't own this, but I had a buddy who had a Sega CD. And that's the thing. I was a Nintendo guy. I had a buddy who had a Sega CD, and I remember this game, the premise of which was that you're a bunch of girls in a house, and there's some guys that are trying to break into the house, and you're using the surveillance cameras of the house to activate different traps to capture these individuals and protect the girls. Now the twist on that is that because this was Sega CD, and it had the capability to do it, all of this was video. These were video clips, and these were, maybe the earliest. One of the earliest, and this may have been one of the earliest versions of QuickTime events I can recall.
So you're saying Five Nights at Freddy's is not an original idea?
No. I mean, to be honest.
Because that's what this is. This is Five Nights at Freddy's.
I guess. I've never played that game.
Okay.
Have you? I mean,
Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, but I mean, basically this. You sit in a control room and you have a few, you have the ability to look at through cameras and to activate lights or to close doors, and you're keeping, in Five Nights at Freddy's, it's these animatronic, possessed demon things, trying to get you. But in Night Trap, it's the burglars, and the burglars have robot claws.
About this game. I just have this terrible memory of this game. And I don't know if this was like a launch title for the Sega CD. I remember there was also something where like you could drive
Sewer Shark.
Yeah, you through the sewers.
Yeah, because I rented the Sega CD with my cousin.
And that was the best thing. Back in the day at Blockbuster, you could rent a video game system. Like, you can't do that at Redbox. You can't go to a Redbox and rent an Xbox One or a PS4. But back in the day.
Yeah, no, you would, because we would rent the add-on, and he had a Sega, so we'd put it on, and then, yeah, we'd do Sewer Shark. And, yeah, it was QuickTime events. This was a weird time in video games, the early to mid-'90s, because you also had, like, Wing Commander doing these live-action movies.
Command and Conquer.
Command and Conquer, yeah, just I guess because the quality of the Unreal Engine didn't exist. The quality of the animation wasn't there yet, but they still had a little bit of bandwidth in the new CDs because it was basically DVD technology, or at least something close to it.
Yeah.
Of course, looking at it now, it would be hilarious because a lot of that stuff was like shot on film, or shot with with production, like movie level productions. Yes, it looks cheesy because it is cheesy, but but then it's compressed to this really bad bandwidth. But the thing that got me about this Night Trap, that I saw this article and went, "Oh, I'm not gonna get this. This is insane."
You're gonna pre-order it.
And then I watched the trailer, and the trailer is like amazing.
It's so good, and that's exactly what the game was. That's exactly what I remember.
It just looks so bad, but then they're like, it's back, and it just looks so hideous.
And somehow it has deleted scenes.
Yeah, but then they're talking about like all new features and deleted scenes, and like you can go through and watch all the theater stuff together, and the behind the scenes stuff. I'm like, there's behind the scenes. You guys went and interviewed these people?
It's like behind the scenes of porn. I mean, it's terrible.
But I'm fascinated now. I'm like, oh no, I might have to.
How much does this cost?
To fork over. I'm sure it's probably $50.
No way.
Or $60. I don't know. Does it say in the article?
I don't see a price here. This blows me away because, like,
I'm telling you, if they put this on the PS4, they're going to charge full price for it.
Well, and it's available. It's available like for download. I think mid-August, but you can get it a week early. You can get a physical copy a week early.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Usually it's the reverse.
No, yeah. So yes, Night Trap on the PS4, 25th anniversary.
Nice.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. All right, moving on from bad video content to probably some amazing video content. Tell us what's coming to Netflix.
Yeah, so Matt Groening, and I'm going to stick with Groening.
I think that's how you pronounce it. Now that I hear you.
Creator of The Simpsons and Futurama has partnered with Netflix to tackle the fantasy genre. And I am all about this. It's set to hit Netflix in 2018 with 10 episodes. It's called Disenchantment, of course. And if he does for the fantasy genre what Futurama did for the sci-fi genre, I'm all in. Because what I love about Futurama was it started out spoofing the genre. And then at some point, it turned everything on its head and started pioneering. Like, it wasn't just spoofs anymore. Like, now it was still funny, but they were blazing their own trail. And it wasn't just spoofs anymore. I
love Futurama. I cannot say enough about it. It is such a great, it's so smart and well produced, and I just don't understand why it didn't get as much love. Maybe it was just too smart. I don't know.
Well, and it got canceled, and then it came back, and now it looks like
and then did movies and stuff like that. I never really felt like it got its win back after it really came back.
I think few things, man, I hate to say it, but I think few things that come back really ever have that magic.
I agree.
And speaking of that, that kind of brings me to another transition. Is Jason Bateman? Is he the killer or is he the actor? Jason Bateman tweeted that they have started production on Arrested Development Season 5, which was canceled and then came back on Netflix, but was terrible. But hopefully they apparently they say they've learned their lesson, and Season 5, rather than being some experimental storytelling, will go back to the original formula with all the
actually having the actors in the same
all
room
in the
doing
same place at the same time. So that sounds great to me.
Yeah, I know it's really difficult. I don't know what they were thinking. It's like, you know what? Maybe if we just don't have them act against each other and we'll just have them act to PAs and cardboard cutouts, that'll work.
And you know what?
I mean, I understand why they did it. It was scheduling and conflict and stuff like that.
I guess. But what is Henry Winkler doing that's keeping him from Arrested Development Season 4? Arrested Development I love, and I can rewatch it always. And every time I rewatch it, I find a joke that has been buried there for seasons that isn't like revealed until seasons later. But I tried to rewatch Season 4, and man, it is painful. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully they
learn their lesson.
Netflix usually learns their lessons very well, and they bring on some great people. So, a new cartoon series, epic fantasy, sounds really interesting to me. I'm really interested to see where that is going. Huge Futurama fan. And now that I think about it, I'm like, I think I'm going to go watch some Futurama tonight after the show because it's just so good. But moving on to my news for the week. My news is we're going completely different direction. Now we're going to YouTube Kids. If you're a parent, you probably know about YouTube Kids, because if you're letting your kids, especially your younger kids, you're 10 and under, watch YouTube, you may be in trouble.
Well, especially raw, unfiltered.
Yeah. Just like classic YouTube Classic. You do not want your kids on that right. Without supervision. It gets dark quick.
And we try to let our kids. We don't let our kids on YouTube, but we do let them watch YouTube Kids, and under the illusion that it's safe.
Yeah, to YouTube's Kids' credit, they do curate it, where YouTube is the only time that something gets flagged is when another user actually flags it.
Unless you make a Nintendo video and then they take it down.
Well, but Nintendo goes like, hey, that's our content. They flag it. Or whoever. On YouTube Kids, there is some filtration on that. Now, that being said, this article comes out today that we're reporting on from TubeFilter is that YouTube Kids is landing an 8-figure deal with Mattel, which is great for YouTube Kids because 8 figures, nobody even Google won't sneeze at that. So that Mattel is Mattel. I think everybody knows about Barbie. Everybody knows about their line of, let's see, what else does Mattel make? They make Barbie, make Fisher-Price, Hot Wheels. What else do they make?
Hoverboards.
So that being said, as a parent, me personally, I'll just give my story about YouTube Kids. We don't let our little one who's 4 watch YouTube Kids or YouTube at all anymore. Now that's like a personal thing. We found that, and I would encourage all dads out there to watch what your kids are watching.
Absolutely.
And what we were doing was we were like, oh, okay, this is safe. It's curated, fantastic. And within a month, we saw a behavior change in him. And I was watching what he was watching, but I wasn't getting it. And what he was watching were a bunch of videos of kids playing and adults playing with toys, but they were always opening new toys.
Yeah.
And then basically doing unboxing videos.
Yeah.
And the behavior that we were getting was he was only happy if he got a new toy And then he opened it, played with it for 5 minutes, and then he needed a new toy.
No.
It was like, he got addicted to dopamine hit of getting that new thing, which, I mean, let's be honest, even adults do that. Adults like, oh, I feel bad, I need to go shopping. That'll make me feel better.
Sure.
But we were getting it like in our son, like in our little 3-year-old. We're like, 3.5-year-old, like, oh my goodness, no, this is wrong. So we shut that down. And I'm be honest with you, we're still feeling the effects of it a little bit. He still has that. So we have just done cold turkey where we only do scripted shows like Aquanauts or Bob the Builder or something like that. And then also we dude, like, I love Aquanauts, man. Aquanauts are awesome.
Wait. Okay, never mind. I thought you were talking about Aquabats.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, all right, that's good. That's good. Keep your kid watching Aquanauts.
Yeah, okay.
Aquabats is maybe when he's a little older, although you could let him watch it now. It's
I mean, we're watching Rick and Morty together. Is that okay?
No!
Is that appropriate? So, but just as dads out there, know that YouTube Kids has gotten flack back in March. They got flack. They got pinged by the BBC, reported that there was a bunch of videos that were on there that looked appropriate. So, like, if you watched it as a parent, you just kind of walk by. They're at the kitchen table. You just walk by and you see Peppa Pig on the screen, or you see Legos. Somebody playing with Legos, or Play-Doh Spider-Man or whatever. You're like, oh, that's appropriate. But then you listen to what they're saying, and they're saying like rated R or rated X things.
Exactly, and I know Peppa Pig specifically was an issue.
Yeah, so I think that YouTube Kids has jumped on that. I'm sure they have, because they have to protect their brand, just like Disney does. Like, whenever you see that castle, there's an agreement between parents and Disney that, like, look, you're not going to show me something that my kid's inappropriate. Now, as a parent, we should watch that, and we should make the judgment ourselves of, like, if that's appropriate or not. But at least it's kind of in the ballpark. YouTube Kids should have the same arrangement with parents. We, though, need to watch it. So just, if you didn't hear about this stuff, it is out there. And then also know that, Mattel's putting a lot of money into this to get in front of your kids, because they're not looking, because your kids aren't watching Saturday morning cartoons anymore.
And that's kind of my question is, this 8-figure deal, I mean, good for YouTube, good for Mattel. What does it mean for you, Wyatt?
Well, one thing that we always have to remember is that if you're not paying for a service,
somebody else is.
Well, no, you're not the customer.
Oh, that's
you're
right.
the product.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So YouTube Kids, the product is your kid.
It's your kids.
Yeah, the customer is Mattel. The customer is whoever Google wants to sell it to. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something that you as the parent need to know, because the kid can't protect himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to be aware of that. Same deal with your Gmail account, same deal with using Google Maps. I mean, now Google has this timeline feature on Google Maps.
What?
Oh yeah, no, dude, it's crazy. Like, you can go to Google Maps and log into your Google account, and it will show you where you've been over the past month. I actually get an email. It's like, you've been to this many places.
Yikes.
This many of them were new. This many miles you said, which for business, I'm actually like, oh, that's actually useful information. But there is a part of me that I'm like, that is creepy as all can be.
This is 1984.
Well, 1984, the government was looking at this stuff, So
replace. Holy cow!
Yeah, so just that's something that kind of snuck in. So just again, keep in mind that whenever you're getting stuff for free, you are the product.
I got to look into this. This thing says I was in Dallas, and I haven't been to Dallas in years. How long have they been keeping track of me?
Well, hopefully it's not that accurate then.
Dear God, I got to look into this.
All right. Well,
moving on.
moving on to less scary news. If you aren't aware, Voltron back on planet Earth.
In a big way.
In the big way, Netflix has 3 seasons of Voltron. The 3rd season just came out.
Have you watched any of these?
Like a week ago. I have not. We started the first episode way late last night.
Oh, wow.
And with the season 3, episode 1, and he fell asleep 5-10 minutes in. So I was like, I can't.
Okay,
I
so
can't
you're 2 seasons in.
Yeah. No, I'm caught up.
My youngest, not my youngest.
I'm not
son.
caught up. I'm on season 3.
My 5-year-old, him and I were watching Voltron, and I don't know how far we got, but it's a fun, like, kids show.
It's a great show.
And
it's a great show.
It's got to be way better than what we remember as kids. And what I like about it is it's the creative team behind it, at least some of them, are from Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. And those 2 shows are some of my favorite, and that is also why I enjoy Voltron. And if you haven't checked out Avatar or Legend of Korra, I highly recommend it.
But going back to this article.
Going back to Voltron.
Going back to Voltron, because I know you will talk Airbender.
I will. Every chance I get.
Blue in the face. It's Super NES and Airbender with you. So with this one, they have the old school Voltron from the 80s. So the one that we all know and love, the true Voltron. No, the new one. The new one looks almost dead on.
Yeah.
They really just kind of smoothed out the 80s rough edges.
Yeah, it's not Michael
and made
Bay.
it look a lot nicer.
What
was that?
It's not Michael Bay reconfiguring your Transformer.
Exactly, and to make it into a metal mesh of I don't know what I'm looking
Yeah.
at. But this one's actually the original one, the old one. And it's a Lego set. It's a Lego set of all 5 lions, red, yellow, blue, green, and of course the black lion. Always my favorite. And you can take them all and put them together and form Voltron, which that alone is awesome. The other part of this story that I really just think is super cool is that this was a project by an amateur builder.
Yeah, this was like
a year ago.
a contest.
You know what? No. I'm sorry. He wasn't an amateur builder. He's a master builder.
That's right.
Let's use Lego terminology here. If he designed this, he's a master builder to put the 5 lions that look amazing by themselves, and then they form Voltron together.
Now, are they going
It's just super cool.
Are they going to sell the lions individually?
Oh, I bet so.
I bet they're going to get every last dollar.
No, what they'll do is you'll have to actually, they will sell individual lines because, all right, I had the full Voltron.
I had
set.
I had the full Voltron. Go on.
So yeah, but I mean, I had the big one where you were able to put the figures into the lion.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Yeah,
I didn't have that.
And then it all attached together. So I bet that what they'll do is that they'll sell every lion individually.
Oh yeah. And then
Voltron. They'll sell a full size one. They'll sell it 20 different ways.
This is pretty
cool. You
cool.
will be able to buy this so many ways, and it looks really cool. I mean, my thing about these Lego sets, though, like I have a 4-year-old. We built. Let me rephrase. I build them, and then he looks at it for 30 seconds and he goes, "Okay, that's cool." And then he takes it apart, and then a month later he wants to rebuild it. I'm like, there is no way I'm rebuilding that thing.
My big thing is, and I was watching an episode of Community recently, and they made the same joke. Legos got expensive. Like, Legos ain't cheap. There's no basic, like, set of Legos anymore. If there are, I can't find them. Everything's branded, and everything is marked up to pay for that branding. So,
well, yeah, the only basics that you can get are, like, those 200, it's
like
a
a
tub.
bag, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a tub full of little bitty Legos. Yeah, but
Is there a price? Is there a price on this?
I have not seen a price on it
We'll keep a lookout.
yet. And it's coming out later this year. I'm sure it's going to be pricey as all can be.
Yeah, they
It's
describe
going
it
to be a
as larger,
premium set.
pricier, and premium.
Yeah. So yeah, no, you are definitely going to pay for this nostalgia because this is going to be a small run set.
Dang.
I think now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Lego lose its patent on the connecting blocks? Didn't its patent run out?
Oh, I don't know.
I think that ran out a few years ago, and that like 10 years ago, and that is why they have gotten so expensive. It's just because what can Lego bring that this knockoff manufacturer can't bring?
Branding.
And the fact is, exactly. It's like, oh, we can go and partner with Mattel. We can go partner with Disney.
Yeah, with DC,
Marvel, DC.
With for some reason,
Peppa Pig,
which
everybody.
Minecraft, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you're already playing with blocks. Why do you need blocks?
Minecraft is Legos.
Why do you need block-themed blocks?
That's the beauty of Minecraft. It's just digital Legos.
That's the beauty of, and that itself is the beauty of Legos. The fact that they can sell high-priced Minecraft Legos that's where they have us.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this. I don't know if I'm going to buy it just because, again, like Legos in my house, I would actually, like you were saying, I would much rather have just a generic Lego set. Give me 200 pieces of Legos. Let me build something. Don't put something in my kid's head because I swear he brings out the instruction manuals and he's like, here, let's build this. We have just a tub full of like 20 sets of Legos now.
Well, and
he's like, can we rebuild this? I'm like, no, there is no way. We have 45 minutes before bath time. There's no way we're going to build this.
And my problem is, and maybe it's because of these exclusive branding sets, but we have, and we love it, and we built it, and it took forever, but we have Helms Deep, like the Lego set of Helms Deep. But if I take that apart, if I take this fortress apart, what else am I going to build with it? And maybe that's the limitedness of my creativity, but like, and maybe that's where I'm not a master builder, but I'm like, this can only be Helms, like this specific piece can only be, and that's what they do these days, is that it's not just like bricks and whatever. There are some very specific engineered pieces that you couldn't use in any other way except for to build Helms Deep. But,
I'm sorry, but the more I play with the Legos, the more I identify with the dad from the Lego movie.
Get the clue. He's the bad guy.
I'm like, he's not the bad. Like, no, I think he's the smartest one in there.
Lord Business.
The Lord Business. I was like, I think he's misunderstood. I think that's a propaganda piece. I think that he's the true hero there, trying to sustain this.
And that is you and your son watching the same movie and having two completely different experiences.
Well, that's just what happens with age. You're just like, you know what? Darth Vader, he got stuff done.
He brought order to the galaxy.
Yeah, really.
He was the chosen one.
In my view, the Jedi are evil. All right. Well, moving on to another galaxy not so far away. We've got some news about yet another Star Wars.
Ooh, you're gonna get letters.
Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna get letters.
You're gonna get our
that.
first letter about that.
Thank goodness. Send them. Please send,
at
Legion
of Dads at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Address it to Richard.
Ah!
So the breaking news, Nicholas Meyer working on a Con limited TV series. So there is not some great vibes coming from Star Trek Discovery. The new series coming from CBS. The fan reaction has been not even mixed. It's been pretty negative. And so CBS reportedly, rumor has it that they are bracing for a flop. And they are already going out there and looking for the next thing. So they have tasked Nicholas Meyer, who was the director of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which is, considered maybe one of the more beloved movies.
Especially of the classic series.
Absolutely.
It definitely stands out. That one and the one with the whales.
Yeah. That would be episode 4, The Voyage Home, where they go back to the 80s
they go to the
to
80s.
get humpback whales.
They slingshot around the sun.
to appease a cylinder,
A giant
with a
cigarette
ball out
in
of it.
space.
To appease an e-cigarette that comes from the future.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, Khan is, oh my goodness. I feel like Khan is Star Trek's version of Doomsday.
Ooh.
Where they just keep
Going back to the well.
Let's just keep using that one. It's like, I don't know who thinks Khan is such a great
Careful,
villain.
careful what you say.
Well, no, I mean, he's an okay villain, and maybe because he is a person that you can point to as like, he bad guy, crew, he bad, we fight bad, we defeat bad, we good, just something really basic about it versus, an entity from, well, of course, most of the Star Trek movies were like, an entity from outer space comes to Earth, threatens Earth in some form or fashion, but that entity is almost nebulous. And it's like, I'm thinking...
Sometimes
Star Trek
literally.
I mean, like Star Trek the Motion Picture,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just this nebulous
Absolutely.
thing that, V'ger
Yeah.
just turns out to be this entity, this huge thing, and then we already talked about the Voyage Home. It's just this thing that comes up, messes up Earth for a while, but then they get the whales, and the whales goes like, no, it's cool. Even though I think the whales would be like, man, these people are messed up.
That's right. 80s whales would be like, help us.
80s whales would be like, get rid of these humans. They are awful. We are the only 2 left on the entire planet.
We're dying here.
And
What was the meaning of that movie? It definitely wasn't Save the Whales. They just transported whales from that. Wait a second.
like, don't think about it. Don't think about it too much. It was a comedy. It was good.
All
It was
right,
good.
all right,
It
it
was a comedy.
was. It was Spock running around San Francisco in a karate outfit.
Exactly. And then, Scotty talking to a computer.
Yes.
Which is by far my favorite scene.
Years before Siri.
Exactly. You're just like, oh, a keyboard. How quaint.
Back when talking to a
So-
computer wasn't cool.
You know what? Talking to a computer today is still not cool.
I know. We're working on it.
We're working on. I mean, the Amazon stuff's pretty cool, but yeah, it's still not quite there. Well, anyway, so they're tapping this Myers to come back and Meyer to come back and maybe bring up a new project. That does not. If this is true, this does not bode well for Discovery.
They should bring Benedict Cumberbatch back as.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. It's like they keep like, let's bring up Khan.
Well, that's J.J. Abrams, man. That's his nostalgia, like trickery and like, oh, I'm not doing a thing. Oh, I'm doing a thing.
Well, but what I really love is
What a twist! I did a
think it was-
thing, and
Yeah,
now
exactly. What a twist. Well, what how
slightly
it should have
different than
ended,
you
how
remember.
how things should have ended, and how they were like making fun of that scene. It's like, my name is Khan, and they're like, is that supposed to mean anything to us?
No.
Well, like, we don't have any. We have no
there's
context.
no context. Like it meant something to the last guy, but we haven't seen him.
And then they had to call the old Spock and then ask him, hey, what about this Khan guy? And then he had to tell them that he was bad. It was just that, what? Oh,
and then it was
why?
great. Well, so much of that movie. Because even the How It Should Have Ended, by the way, if you're not familiar with How It Should Have Ended, go check it out. And everything they've done, it'll ruin.
Yeah, it's a YouTube channel.
It'll ruin.
How It Should Have Ended.
It'll ruin every movie you love. You'll never be able to watch it the same again. But they talk about, they make that call to Spock, and he lines them out on everything they might run into in the future. Like, in case the whales show up, you might want to save a few of those.
In case the e-cigarette shows up, go back in time and get some whales.
And then of course, Khan's magic blood that brings Tribbles and Kirk back to life and totally breaks death in the Star Trek universe.
Well, it totally breaks death in the Star Trek universe, and in that movie, they have perfected trans warp.
Oh, dude!
beaming. So basically, spaceships, starships are obsolete. You don't need them anymore because you can traverse light years in an instant. So why do we need this whole fleet? Like it totally dismantles so much.
I would love, you know what?
Yeah,
you know,
it's just that movie is just.
I need to
blows
get you.
my mind.
I wonder if I need to get you what was that book called? We talked about it a while back. The engineering guide to Star Trek universe. What was that called? The
technical guide?
Yeah, the technical. I need to get you the Kelvin Universe technical manual for transwarp, transporting, yeah, and communication. Like,
yeah, no, they're like in the middle of Klingon space and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna call Scotty. I'm gonna call Scotty on Earth in a bar." I'm like, "What? Is going?
Maybe it's
on?
the distant future. Maybe there's subspace, whatever. But that still didn't work for me.
Yeah, no, it.
What were we talking about?
Well, we were talking about Con, this limited TV series. You know, we'll see. This is brand news. This is rumors, actually. So. It really, I kind of point it more of like, man, they're really not putting a lot of faith.
Is it going to be on CBS or CBS All Access, or has it found a home yet?
Okay, well, here's also the thing. I'm sure it'll be probably affiliated with CBS in some respect. Now, the interesting thing, and because of what we've been talking about, I don't want to go into this too much, but because of all this stuff with Discovery, I've been doing a little of digging in on the business side of why J.J. Abrams verse and why the reboot. And it really comes down to the fact that Paramount and CBS split. They, with Viacom, they had to split apart. So to not become a monopoly, or they had some issues that they, for business reasons, had to split apart. Well, in doing so, part of Star Trek went to Paramount, part of Star Trek went to CBS. And so a lot of like why the uniforms look the way they do in Discovery, why there's not color in them and stuff like that, has to do with that legal split. The reason that the insignia looks the way, the reason that there's so many aliens that are different.
Oh yeah, the Klingons look completely different.
Yeah, because there's they basically everything from Voyager or Enterprise back belongs to, I can't remember who. I think it's CBS or Paramount.
That's got to be the other one.
One or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Paramount owns the rest of them, but then they'll rent it out.
Oh, no.
They'll rent out the franchise to each other in pieces. So it's just like a big legal mess. And that's probably not going to help Discovery. And it's probably not going to help this Wrath of Khan. So it's two divorced parents in this franchise that's so beloved, and us as fans is in the middle.
And we don't get more Christmases or more birthdays. We just get nothing.
No. And we don't get cool, because I don't know. I mean, if you're a Star Trek fan, if you're a dad out there and you want more of that original Star Trek-ness, there are people that have made some really well done original series.
Didn't they get sued?
Star Trek. Well, okay, so there's Star Trek. Man, this
Spoiler
is
alert.
Yeah. Well, no, but there's Star Trek Phase 2, which that was a long running series that if you go and watch it, you could be like, hey, wait a minute. There's that guy, and there's Chekhov, and
really?
there's all these actors that are from the original series.
Are they as themselves?
No, they're usually not. Usually they are
just cameos or something.
They're playing cameos, or they're playing other, because they're quite a bit older in age now. But they have actors playing Chekhov and Kirk and Spock that are supposedly taking over. The original idea for Star Trek was that it was a 5-year mission. So their Phase 2 is those last 2 years, because the original series only ran for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And they're discounting, I guess, the animated series, because that was the 2 years. But anyway, so they are in the same style of acting and the same style, and they have the cardboard sets and so if you love that 60s aesthetic and that style, other than it being Shatner and Nimoy, it's not them, but there's still decent stories, and some of them are scripts that were written for the original series that just never got shot. And they've reworked them, and they've just, it's a labor of love kind of thing.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Very cool.
Now the one that got sued is Star Trek Axanar, and then they shortened it to Axanar. Now that one, they did I think a Kickstarter and an Indiegogo campaign and raised a lot of money.
Like too much, like red flag money. like you show up on people's radar money.
Right. But like if you go, and you can still find it, there is a documentary, a faux documentary called Battle to Axanar?
Ooh.
Or a Prelude to Axanar. Here it is. All right. Prelude to Axanar.
I'm just kidding. I'm enjoying this conversation too.
It is a super well done little short.
Cool.
It's not little. It's 21 minutes, but it's a documentary, or if you get a chance to watch it, I highly recommend taking a look, because the visual effects look just a hair. Now, I mean, like, I work in the film industry, so I look at visual effects quite a bit. These are, I would say, in between feature film level and like TV level.
Like, so it's pretty good for is it pretty good for Star Trek?
It's better than Enterprise.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, that's the newest show.
Yeah.
Did that show not look good?
But that was, it was.
Which Star Trek?
It was computer graphics. It was like the first Enterprise that was all 100% rendered in the computer versus. Now on Voyager they dabbled in it, and I think later seasons they went away from the model. But if you look at what they did for Next Gen,
sure.
And if you look at the 35 millimeter scans of it, it looks amazing what they were able to do. And then also somebody pointing it out, like, oh yeah, look, if you look in that window in the observation lounge on the back of the bridge in the intro, we actually have a cutout there, and there's actually a drawing of people around the table walking, and just kind of craziness like that. And then they upgraded that even for the movies and stuff like that. But this still looks, whenever you consider that it's a fan film, you're like, holy cow.
Cool.
Now, the fact is that a lot of people working on it did work on Enterprise and did work on Deep Space Nine and other Star Trek television series.
That helps.
And they loved it. Yeah, that helps. And then some of the actors are from Enterprise, or they're like Star Trek veterans. A lot of them are like, they usually are Klingons, and now they're out of makeup. But you'll watch it and you'll be like, oh yeah, I know that. And the aesthetic is great, because it's almost what we wanted the J.J. Abrams aesthetic to be, where they took the original series style and they just amped it up a little bit, not as much as they did with the Kelvin timeline. They just did it just enough, but you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, no, that's totally original Star Trek. That's totally the right time period. It looks right. It feels right. And I was super excited when they announced that they were going to do, and it's all about the storyline is all about the Klingon Federation War. And it's basically like an arms race.
Cool.
Where they're just trying to develop the best spaceships that they can.
I guess the Klingons beat them to the cloaking device.
Right, but that actually doesn't factor in. It's all about, like, at this point, it's almost like it really feels like talking about in the late 70s after Vietnam, going into the Cold War, where you had the MiG-18, I think it was the MiG-18, and what the U.S. was going to bring to the table. Like, they had the Phantom, they had the F-4, but it wasn't really enough. So they started developing something that had more teeth, something with bigger engines, something that could do intercept missions. And that's where, like, the the F-14 Tomcat came into play. And then the F-18, the MiG-18 wasn't enough. So then they went up to the, I don't know my Soviets, but the MiG-19 or whatever. And that's what it kind of feels like in the documentary. Like there's just this arms race going on. And it's just an interesting feeling. So I was really excited to see, and again, it looks really good. I would have been, if this was on television, I would have been ecstatic.
Cool.
To see these level of graphics and the storyline, just, it felt Star Trek. It felt right. I was very excited. And then Paramount dropped the legal hammer on them. Big time. And pretty much it's dead.
Wow.
Paramount, decided that they needed to, bring some more restrictions. So they limited the size, limited the budget, limited how many professionals could work on it. So they were like, look, you if you're a professional, you cannot work on these fan films. Which, hey, it's their sandbox. If they don't want any of us playing in it and they'd rather just piss in it, that's up to them.
Yeah. That's terrible.
It is
Nobody
terrible.
wants to play in a peed-in sandbox. I'm going back to Star Wars.
Well, let's keep it in space though. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It's coming out, and it's
coming out on Blu-ray, right?
It's coming out on Blu-ray. It's been in theaters, and they have had the most unique. Oh my goodness, just the craziest marketing.
And so Guardians of the Galaxy, which is known for its soundtrack, they release, I guess, a promo video for the Blu-ray DVD launch. It's a music video. Why?
I don't know what it is.
Hey, here's the deal. Like I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Volume 2. Wyatt,
I have not.
You have not. So
this means nothing to me other than it's like, what am I looking? Because I actually just stumbled upon this on the interweb, not knowing what it was. Did not know it was connected to Guardians of the Galaxy. I know I didn't read the title, but I just clicked on it. And I'm like, what is this? I've watched this 7 times.
That's all right. So, what do you think this is about?
I don't know.
What happens?
I keep watching it, and I kind of go into an epileptic shock when I watch it. But if you do watch it, you can see all the cast of Guardians is in there, hidden in little cameos and stuff like that. Even James Gunn, the director, is the coolest one because he's the drummer. But
it's an insane music video.
I don't have anything to say about it other than you should know about this because it's just so bonkers.
It's an insane music video set, and the other great thing about Guardians is that not only does it have a great soundtrack, but it's a great period soundtrack because he's been removed from Earth for 30 years. So
right, this is the last time that he heard music. Earth music was in the 70s.
He's got his Awesome Mix 1 and his Awesome Mix 2, and this is a music video with it looks like it's from the 70s. It sounds like it's from the 70s. It's got everybody.
I'm sorry, the 70s wish it was this
I know,
cool.
it wishes it was this cool. It wishes it was this meta, whatever.
Meta, yeah.
And it's got, what's crazy is it's got characters from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Everybody's they're not in their makeup. You can barely tell who's who. Drax, you can't miss David Bautista.
Yeah, he is actually the first one that I saw and went, wait a minute. What am I watching here?
Yeah, well, the one that throws me.
Batista? No, everybody's in it.
That's the ones that I didn't see in it, unless they're hiding somewhere, are Vin Diesel, who provided the voice for Groot, and Bradley Cooper, who was Rocket Raccoon. But I think everybody else is pretty much in there. And so it's this crazy 70s video, and there's a celebrity twist halfway through, and of course an obligatory Stan Lee cameo.
I think it's just contractually obligated. He doesn't even leave anymore. He just.
It's great. It's insane. It's great. I almost have to go back and listen to it because I'm pretty sure they're describing the events of Guardians of the Galaxy.
No,
2.
they totally may. I have been so fixated on the visuals, though.
I know.
I'm just like, what am I? Because again, I just stumbled upon this. I didn't have any precursor. I was just like, what?
It's like
what is going on?
It's like stumbling across Too Many Cooks and finding out it's a trailer for like a step-by-step DVD set. Like, it's madness. Family madness.
It is madness. Yeah, but anyway, take a look at that. We'll put that in the show notes, a link to this in the show notes, because it's just non-describable. You just have to see it. It's crazy. All right, so moving on, something else that's really cool out there is the Batman, the Telltale series of the actually just all the Telltale games are kind of cool.
I know. I don't think you can go wrong with any of the Telltale games.
Some people don't like them. I mean, these kind of point-and-click games and stuff like that. I really enjoy them. I really like the Walking Dead version.
I hear it's great.
I don't like the show that much.
Yeah.
I find it very contrived, and my wife watches it, and I'm going like, all right, so they're at another safe place, right?
That's right.
So
my wife and I.
somebody's going to come in. Some big bad is going to come in from another group that's going to challenge that, right? And then there's going to be a problem, and there's going to be some internal problems, and then they're going to get kicked out of that place. Then they're going to go on the road for a while. Then they're going to find a new place.
That's right.
And it all, then it all starts again.
And my wife and I, we're still stuck on season 2, which I think is the worst season. We're still stuck on the farm back when AMC couldn't pay for Breaking Bad and Walking Dead and Mad Men at the same time. So Walking Dead got the short end of the stick.
Plus the guy, that thing is, and if you are into like the behind the works and stuff like that of television, that is a very interesting story that is still unfolding to this day. That includes a couple multi-million-dollar, like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of lawsuits about that because the guy that created the show, the showrunner, he got canned at the end of season 1. They basically lost all their not all their funding, but they got shortchanged for the funding for season 2. They had to rework it. That's why season 2
and
is
I think
so
they had to
slow.
drag it out. Yeah. Like there were half as many.
To the last. You could skip to the last like 2 episodes of season 2.
We're still on the farm.
Yeah, you could find like a must-watch list.
Yeah.
For season 2. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Walking Dead. I really don't want to talk about Walking Dead. But the video game is really interesting. It's definitely not for kids.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Like the great thing about these Telltale games is like they make you make choices, and they never. A lot of games have this moral decision, and it's usually pretty evident. You're going to be the hero or you're going to be the bad guy. Like it's usually pretty evident which one you're going to be when you make those choices. I think in the Telltale games, they go, okay, put them every choice be, are you going to be a dick? Or are you going to be a worse, or sorry, won't use that phrase. Are you going to be a jerk? Or are you going to be a massive jerk? And you never feel like you're making the best choice. And it's always nebulous. And usually, no matter what choice you make, it's going to go bad for you. It's just how bad. And you don't really know. And it feels very real. And you feel like those choices are hard to make. So those games are great. And it's all about the storytelling. You're getting that for the storytelling. The Batman one, I did season 1. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I do really like that way of telling a story. It was not a normal Batman video game. It was not the Arkham games where you're.
It's not all action. It's detective.
It's not action at all.
Okay.
Really, it's detective work.
It's Bruce Wayne, doing financial business dealings.
The personal.
I have no idea what it's about.
No.
I want to play.
There's some personal growth and it's like character development. Oh, did your character have some arc? oh, and he has to make some hard life choices.
Well, and here's my question.
It's
You were just saying how great the games are, depending on, you have the choice between being a jerk or being a massive jerk. How does that play out in the Batman-verse?
it's not that much on the Batman. It's not like that in the Batman universe because it's such a well-defined character. But there are some just interesting
Do you have to make a
ways
tough
of going
decision?
about it. You do have to make some tough decisions, and then there's the detective aspect to it,
Okay.
which I really like because I don't feel like we ever get that. And this was kind of the first time that I ever felt that Batman was kind of smart.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. So and
then
not all the time. Sometimes it's like everybody's going to have their own differing opinions about this, but it's much more of like an interactive, choose your own adventure kind of book, movie kind of feel to it versus a action beat 'em up.
I always felt
it was just a little bit different.
I always felt in Arkham, I could just turn on detective mode, my Iron Man vision, and just like never turn it off. Like I could just walk around and let the computer solve all the clues for me and find all the.
Especially with the first one was really bad because they fixed that in later renditions in Arkham City and then
I'm still
in Arkham Knight.
I'm still only on Arkham City, and I haven't gotten to Arkham Knight, and I haven't started Arkham Origins.
You're good to just stop with City.
I know. I hear it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I think City is where it is the Dark Knight of the Nolan trilogy is the best.
Yeah.
And it just kind of goes off the rails on Dark Knight Rises. Same thing with the Arkham.
Oh, wow.
Where the first one's great. Second one is the peak. Third one, it's just more.
Did you play Origins?
I did.
Okay,
dude, like I'll play anything Batman.
Yeah, because
like, for better or for worse.
Because Origins was a different company. It was like it was a prequel.
It's okay.
Okay.
And it feels the controls are funny enough. Like the controls don't seem as tight.
No, it's like just do what they did.
I know, but there's the magic sauce. They put everything in there but the paprika. Like just something they missed. It's your grandma's saucepan that has like 20 years of grease on it that makes everything so delicious. Like they just didn't have that something.
Well, what characters did we run into in season 1? Can you mention that without spoiling anything?
I don't want to.
All right. Well, what do we have to look forward to?
But it looks like in season 2 though. It looks like in season 2, like the Riddler's going to be the
I hear
big
there's a maniacal Riddler, which is good because.
Which is great. I'm really excited about that because again, I want more detective work. I want more riddles. I want to feel more. I want to get more into Batman's head and feel like the Batman, which I was promised in the Arkham games, in which I do feel like you get on the first 2, and the third one you feel okay, but it's just I don't know. The ending is okay.
Yeah, I still don't know how that ends. And what I like is that they're developing the Riddler because up until now he's only been like a trophy giver. So, maybe that changes in later games.
No, he becomes worse because in the third one he becomes a race car.
Oh gosh,
track maker.
Of course he does. What was I thinking? That whole game's built around the Batmobile.
And I think that's my biggest problem with the third game is that the Batmobile is cool for like the first hour playing with it. And then after that, I'm like, I really like swinging from rooftop to rooftop, gliding in and sliding.
I think I've heard that comparison.
Yeah. And then also just the contrivance. They keep contriving things to make the city empty of just all baddies, which I would have preferred this is all retrospect. This is all armchair quarterbacking, so it's whatever. But I would have liked a Spider-Man 2 kind of the game, that kind of thing where it's a living world. I would have loved to have seen the PS4's power put to that of people are walking around. There's muggings and there's all these secondary things, but not everybody in the world is a bad guy. Of course, the reason that they did that is because when you
can plow through.
When you're driving the Batmobile and you're not really that great, and you plow through 10 guys.
You don't feel bad
they're
about
all
it.
bad guys.
Yeah, they were.
You don't feel bad about it. But also they had this mechanic where it's like, no, you still don't kill. The Batmobile is surrounded by tasers.
Oh, no.
So that as you hit these people going 150 miles an hour and you clip them, it tasers them and knocks them harmlessly onto the ground.
It's like that Pete Holmes sketch that Batman doesn't know what death is.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they're all asleep. That's madness. Well, cool. I look forward to both of these. When is this coming out?
This is coming out August 8th.
Oh.
So Tuesday.
Oh.
Comes out Tuesday. I knew that it was
Very cool.
soon. Yeah. Comes out Tuesday. Very excited. And it comes on
Is there a season
like every
pass, or is
platform.
it all-
Xbox. It's going to be the first 5 episodes. Okay. So you can get it. Yeah, you can definitely get a season pass to get the rest of them, or just pick up the first episode.
Cool.
And it varies in price, so check where you're gonna see it at. But it's kind of everywhere. It's Xbox One, it's PS4, it's PlayStation.
Is it PS3 for those suckers of us who haven't?
I don't.
I doubt it.
Think
I
so.
don't think anything
I
is
doubt it.
anymore.
It's PC, it's Mac,
Yeah.
it's iOS, it's Android devices, and really.
How much is it on iOS?
I'd have to look.
Yeah,
that
how much
up.
was the last one? I'm gonna look it up while you talk.
Yeah. So, and I wouldn't say to be too worried about getting it on iOS because the graphics are okay.
It's not about the graphics, right?
But it's not about the graphics, and yeah, I mean they're okay. So
Well played. Maybe
I don't need this. I don't need this on my PS4 Pro at 4K
That's right,
on my UHD monitor.
Yeah, my 4K.
Yeah, on my UHD
HDR,
monitor.
yeah.
I mean it's cell shaded styling and stuff like that. This will look fine on my iPad, on my 2nd gen iPad.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Ooh, $5.
I don't know how much. Yeah, they're not expensive, and that's another cool thing. They're not expensive. So go check it out.
Screw a season pass. I'll buy it for $5 on iOS.
Yeah, and you can get the first season for cheap.
Yeah, $5.
So yeah,
Suckers.
so check that out.
Awesome.
Well, moving on to our next section, it's what comes out this week in the movie theaters.
Nothing.
So we,
no.
well, no, we have 3 movies that I kind of
because
earmarked.
Kenneth's wife actually mentioned on Facebook. She was like, "Why is the Emoji Movie the only kids movie out in theaters?" So it has been kind of a dry spell lately. But
it has, but the next movie, the first movie we're going to talk about, is a sequel.
Yeah, I guess you'll have an option at least.
Yeah, which I mean, if it's between the movie we're about to talk about and the Emoji Movie, I'll take this movie, and that movie is The Nut Job 2.
Yeah, which the first one,
Will Arnett, it's
the first one is it's whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
I don't
Will Arnett
I don't
doing
remember
his thing.
it. Yeah, I prefer him as Lego Batman, but it's fine.
Exactly. Well, I mean, in this one, he kind of plays that exact same character.
I know. Like he does Job really well. It's just
that's his shtick. Which hey man,
lean into it.
Earn that paycheck.
That's right.
Cut that check.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly, it works. So, and again, they're like, we're going back to the Central Park, and they're gonna be
whatever
running around
it's
doing
fine.
whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's an anime
It's bright
movie.
and colorful, and maybe there's a song. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there's any songs
there's a
in
song.
these.
This isn't Disney.
I don't think these. Yeah, these aren't those kind. So you won't have to buy a soundtrack. So that's great.
Yeah, you won't have an earworm for the next month.
Exactly. So you know what? It's
Good news.
It'll be all right.
I promise it'll be better than the Emoji Movie.
It'll definitely be better than the Emoji Movie. It'll probably better than, Despicable Me 3 or watching whatever for the millionth time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, that's coming out. One that's not for the kids, or maybe for the the older kids.
It's actually this movie, this next one coming out, it's PG-13. Annabelle Creation.
Annabelle Creations, the Annabelle 2, they are so smart to do that with this PG-13 because this is the perfect teenage movie.
Well, and what's funny is, all right, so this is a sequel to Annabelle, which is a spin-off of The Conjuring, or a prequel, or whatever you want to call it.
A money grab?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm kidding.
It's a cash grab. I hate these movies. My wife and I actually just watched Annabelle this weekend, and what I hate about it is like they will sit on a shot real long, and they build up the suspense, and that's great, but nothing happens, and then it'll cut away like you keep waiting for the doll to move, and it doesn't. And you keep waiting and waiting and nothing. And then after a while, I'm like, well, nothing happened. Like the doll nothing happened. So this is, the first one was rated R, which was kind of a mystery to me and my wife because there wasn't language in it. There wasn't a whole lot of violence. I mean, there was a little bit, but nothing I thought was rated R. So this is a PG-13 entry. I would have rated the first one PG-13, to be honest. So, but from the trailer, and especially after just watching the first movie, this looks to be, at least from the 30-second minute trailer, it looks like more things are happening in this trailer than happened in the first movie. So maybe that's a good thing, or maybe that's everything that happens, and you have to sit through 90 minutes of nothing happening. But it looks good. I mean, it's PG, it's PG-13. If you're in that age range, knock yourself out. Whatever, it's fine. I'm sure it's garbage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, James Wan, he's definitely, that's the director.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Did he do the first one?
Definitely. He definitely produced
Because the first one I didn't recognize, but maybe I'm an idiot. If only there was a thing called the internet.
No, he did not.
Okay, see?
No, but he did do The Conjuring.
Okay.
Then,
well, I will give him credit for that.
Yeah, but he did like Furious 7, which is really pretty good.
Yeah. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. All right. Here's my quick tangent about it won't take long, about Fast and the Furious. They stopped numbering the movies. I can't remember where I left off. Now I have to start from the beginning. I don't know if it was Fast 5, whatever 6 was.
I have to start when they were stealing DVDs, and then all of a sudden they are robbing banks.
Fate of the
Save
whatever.
The world with submarines.
Put a number on your movie so I know where I left off. I have to.
Well, even this one.
I have the same problem. Absolutely.
Creation. Like, is that a prequel? Is that a sequel? Where are we? Just put a number on it.
I have the same problem with Underworld. I have the same problem with Resident Evil. I don't know where I left off. I don't know if Apocalypse came before, Resurrection. I don't understand.
But you don't need to see any of those movies, actually, though. just because you don't know where to go.
Well, the funny thing is, and I don't know why, but my wife and I, up until whichever one I lost track, we have seen all the Resident Evils. We have seen more Resident Evils than we deserve to have watched, than they deserve to have watched. The first one was great, and it probably wasn't even that great, but it was good enough that we kept coming back. And after a while, it just became this terrible tradition that we would keep seeing all these Underworld ones. I think the last one I left off, they were all I don't know. Anyways. That's my tangent.
You could just, seriously, I've seen quite a few of them. You could describe the ending, and I think the last, I think that they've been trying to end this series for the past 3 movies.
Well, I think they finally did.
And but I think that they've been trying to okay, we're going to end this. And then they film it, they edit it, they release it, and they go, I don't really like that ending.
I don't know if they do.
Just go shoot a whole other movie.
In my opinion, because the director is married to Mia Jovovich. So as far as I can tell, yeah, whenever they need money, they're like, hey, let's go make another Resident Evil movie, and that'll buy this week's worth of groceries. I left off at the one that was like a combination of all of them. There was a bunch of cities underground, and one of them was Tokyo, one of them was Raccoon City, one of them was Nevada. It was a mix of all the movies. And characters that I think we thought were dead are back. Maybe Michelle Rodriguez is dead. Maybe I'm talking about Fast and the Furious. I don't know anymore. It all blends together.
Yeah, which is kind of sad because it's Paul W.S. Anderson. I know. Love one. But, I really liked this guy at one point.
You know what I'd love to see?
I really did like this.
I would love
movies,
to see.
But
I'd love to see Wes Anderson's Resident Evil.
That would be amazing.
Hey,
Everything would be centered.
did you ever see the Saturday Night Live Wes Anderson horror movie sketch?
No, I don't think.
Dear God, I have to send that to you. Listeners, check it out. Google it.
Okay.
Wes Anderson
Right.
horror movie. All
right, I'll Google
where
it
were
after
we?
the show.
Annabelle. Great.
Yeah, Annabelle. So, Annabelle, if you're into these kind of things, if you like the Conjuring movies, if you like Insidious, it's actually all the same guy. That's his vision. That's what he does, and he's really good at it. If you like these things, go see it. It looks pretty. I'm not going to lie to you. I love how it looks. But moving on to something totally different style, totally different type of genre of movie. This is much more in that indie style. This is the what is it called?
Glass Castle.
The Glass Castle. And this has got Woody Harrelson in it. Kind of the story of just a dad that in the 50s kind of takes his family off the grid. He wants them to learn and be free thinkers and stuff like that. And then, they all kind of go their separate ways. And then the daughter is has to reconcile with her father, and that's set in the 80s. So it's kind of a flashing back to the 50s and then the 80s. Just again, a really pretty movie, really interesting movie. Kind of reminded me this movie of where the dad is kind of a free thinker and kind of out there, and he's a visionary kind of thing, but he's a little crazy. I've seen this movie a few times.
Well, you were describing it to me, and it reminded me of a movie that I think is available on Netflix or.
It's probably Captain
Fantastic. Yeah. Where they all go live in the
on
woods,
Amazon.
and they live a nonconformist life. And I think at some point the CPS tries to come and take their kids away.
Right.
So this is
So
a
yeah,
similar story.
it feels very similar to that. Like I don't know. I got a feeling that like maybe the mom gets out of the picture at some point for some reason, and Captain Fantastic, it was the same thing. It's just that it's not a dad movie, but it is a story about a dad and about raising kids. And so I don't know anything else other than that. It looks interesting. Woody Harrelson's always kind of interesting to watch. So I'm interested to see it, and if the nut job is not your thing, or possessed dolls is not your thing, well, maybe a heartfelt story about raising kids in an uncontemporary way is your thing. I don't know, but it looked cool to me.
I always have to give a movie props when it's a writer director. Because that's his vision. He's seen it all the way through. Now, sometimes that can bite you in the ass. Sometimes you get Shyamalan.
Yeah, as much as the movie company or the production company that's actually putting the money up will let you, it's their vision.
But good for him. And also Captain. So he's writer director. Destin, let's say, Cretton, writer director of Glass Castle. And also writer-director of Captain Fantastic, Matt Ross. So both writer-directors, both kind of similar, perhaps, stories told in different ways. Maybe.
Yeah. So,
I don't know.
I don't
know. We haven't seen it yet. We'll see what.
Yeah, we haven't seen
knows?
it, and it probably won't see it in theaters because this feels definitely like something that I'll get to watch on a rental. I'll probably go and see Nut Job 2. just because I'll get forced into it. Exactly. But I'll be yearning to look at this nostalgic 1950s style, and then the 80s. Like, it looks. I don't know. I love this resurgence of like period.
I was
going to
say,
don't look like
is it just
period pieces?
Is it just me, or are more movies capitalizing on the nostalgia factor of 90s, 80s?
They probably are, because it's like, well, that's cheap.
Well, or has that period in time, have I finally caught up to that period in time where they're making nostalgia movies from 20 years ago, and now I'm the demographic where that hits. Like they've always been making them.
I think
I've just finally grown into it.
The first, I believe, since I don't know what the first like 4 or 5 stories of our day was all nostalgia stories.
That's right.
So yeah, I think we're the demographic now, my friend.
Oh, jeez. I played right into
We're the
their
old
hands.
men now. Yeah, yeah, we all played into their hands. So go check it out. Go see a movie. Those are 3 out there that and whatever you do, do not go see the.
That's right.
The Emoji movie.
Looking at almost
just don't do that.
Looking at almost everything that we've talked about today, there is some bit of nostalgia built into that.
I know, it's sad.
Almost everything. Jeez.
That's all we go. That's all we cling to. But also, that's all the news that's out there. I mean, it's like the Star Trek news is still just that.
That's right.
All right. Well, moving on, we're going into RecommenDADtions. Richard, what do you have for us this week?
All right. So a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, who knows? I mentioned kind of the benefits of using your local library. Well, this last week, after we were talking about Dark Tower, and I was trying to find a way to catch up on reading all of...
How's that working on for you?
Not well. But what I did do was that my local library, and they use an app called Libby. And it's not specifically my library, but you log into this app with your library and with your library card. And what I've been doing this last week, actually... I was hoping to listen to something from the Dark Tower. However, they were all taken. So then I looked up, after you mentioned it last week, The Martian. It was all taken. After I went through a list of books that I was hoping to read, I finally got down to something that wasn't taken, and I was able to listen to it. So this last week, my recommendation is Libby, the app, which is, like I said, the app that my library uses. And I've been able to listen to the audiobook for The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. And I'm about halfway through it. And the way this app works is, first off, I learned a lot of things. If it's a popular movie, it's like if it's coming out in theaters, you better reserve it ahead of time or you're not going to be able to. You can't reserve it the week of and expect to listen to it.
Right, because if I understand, because I don't know about this app, but other apps that I've used that do something similar to this, the libraries, I know that sounds weird, but they have a limited amount of the digital copies that they are given licenses.
And I wouldn't be surprised if, at least in my case, it's one copy. So yeah, there's a limited amount. I thought I'd be able to dive into their entire library and grab whatever book I wanted to read. Well, it turns out that's not the case. I can, but with enough time, I can reserve a copy and eventually it'll be available. So just when you go into it, be aware that you may not, at least right now, be able to grab the exact book you want, but you can at least reserve it and maybe... Because you reserve an audiobook for 2 weeks. So if it's not now, maybe between now and the next 2 weeks, you'll have access to that book. So I'm working my way through Ray Bradbury's Martian Chronicles, which is a book I have had on my shelf that I have for years. I'm a book collector. I collect books. I admire reading, but I rarely do it myself. I admire those that do it. I wish I was one of those people. I'm trying to be one of those people. Right now, audiobooks is my way to go. I've got a 30-minute commute each morning and on the way home. So that's giving me an hour each day to knock out a 9-hour audiobook. So hopefully before the end of this week, I will have finished my audiobook and I'll be ready for my next one. So that's my recommendation is Libby the app. I would say if because we kind of talked about it last week, go to your local library. There's all sorts of, not only are there books, but there's Blu-rays. Like my wife and I rented Annabelle. My son and I watched Rocky on Blu-ray. And but you can also with your library subscription, like we use through the Libby app, you can rent audiobooks.
Very cool. Yeah, and just letting everybody know that it's not your library's fault that they only have one copy. I mean, that's kind of how the industry works.
Well, and it could be
that they have to buy tokens.
Yeah,
and
it could be more than that. I just imagine it's only one because.
Well, but they have a limit, just like they have a limited amount of books on the shelf. They basically have to buy tokens that are representations of a copy of it. Even though in a digital world it doesn't make sense, but in that analog business model of textbooks and book selling, that's how they have to do it. I'm just saying, dads, don't get mad at your library. If you want to do something about it, I don't know, donate to your library.
Yeah, and be flexible. I mean, it took me. I mean, I went through, like I said, Stephen King, because I've listened to a Stephen King audiobook before. I checked out The Martian based on your recommendation. I went through Douglas Adams. I went through a couple listings before. Be flexible. It took me about 4 or 5 before I found one that was in stock that I could rent now and listen for the next 2 weeks. But, of course, I can reserve one that's already out and potentially have that to listen to when I'm done with this book.
Sweet. Okay. Very nice recommendation for this week. I'm going to actually set this up on mine and try it out at my local library. And success. And my recommendation this week for the family is a classic in my house, which is Ticket to Ride. It's a board game that is, we love board games at my family. We love board games. We love role-playing games. I really like Ticket to Ride for a bunch of different ages, 2 to 5 players. The little ones can get involved. Probably not under 4, but if you've got a smart 4-year-old, they can usually handle it. The older kids really like it. It's real simple. It's just kind of connecting the dots kind of thing. It's real fun. It takes about half an hour to an hour to play. It's really colorful. So that's kind of one of those things where it's not going to take you. It's not Monopoly that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Days.
Which takes days, and I still have my brother-in-law still read up on techniques to beat me after I beat him, destroyed him one time. And he was just he got mad at me and started researching how to beat me. So
wait. Okay, I'm with you. Can you explain Ticket to Ride? This has been on my radar for years. I believe I first heard Jeff Kanata of the Totally Rad Show and Newest, Latest, Best had recommended this years ago. But can you explain it to me? Because this is something, every time I go into a Barnes & Noble or a Second & Charles, and this is on the shelf, a Target, I've been interested. I'm always waiting for a good price on it.
Sure. I mean, it's basically is you're going to you need to complete one of the trails on the map and connect all the different train cars throughout and make and there's different ways to win. There's you can make the longest run or the most complex, or there's a bunch of different ways to win and you get points and stuff like that. It's just real simple, and that's what I really like about it. I can't remember off the top of my head. I haven't played it in a couple of weeks. But last night they did play it at the house. Okay. I just didn't get to play it.
Is it like Catan or is it something completely different?
It's so much more simpler than Catan.
Yeah, because
Catan is great, but I think Catan is for older kids and for tweens and teens and stuff like that. Catan is good.
So everybody can jump into it, because that's my one thing about Catan. Catan is you're building your lands, it's all hexagons and whatever, but then it's resource management and whatever. So this is simplified.
This is simplified. This is they say 8+ on the box.
Oh wow.
I think you can go lower if, at least with me, is with my son, we play as a team.
Cool.
And he helps me decide and stuff like that, and then I let him put the pieces down and whatnot. So I mean that just speeds up the game. But it's a cool game for older kids. Catan is also a great one that I would recommend, and for older kids. But yeah, that one takes a lot more. That's resource management. That's a little bit more negotiating. Where Ticket to Ride is a little bit more straightforward.
Cool. Like a train track.
Just like a train track. Well, I mean, you basically have like you're a train tycoon, and you have to make the longest run. And I think that's how if I remember correctly, that's the ultimate goal, is to make the longest run. But then you can get other points for doing other stuff, and like different train routes are worth more points and whatnot.
Cool.
But it's a fun one. Catan's a fun one. Also, like Pandemic for like the older kids. Like, have you ever played Pandemic?
No.
Not to make this a board game show.
I think I've seen it, but no, I haven't played it.
Pandemic is like my all-time favorite for the adults.
Cool.
Excuse me. Pandemic, because it gets everybody involved. My wife is definitely not a role-playing person. I totally am. I love role-playing. Pandemic, and then also she's not a competitive person. So how do I get her into board games? Because I really do love them. And sometimes I like them to be competitive, like Catan is like, or Monopoly, where it's just like, no, forget you. I want all your sheep. Pandemic, you as the players are on a team and you're fighting the game. You're trying to beat the game. And the idea is that you are all a part of a rapid response like an infection team with the CDC. Is that right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So you're a rapid response with the CDC, and each player is given a character to play, and you have certain abilities as that character and certain strengths that you can bring to it. And basically, we're fighting outbreaks. They're different colored outbreaks, but we always name them. So I'm like, okay, this one's swine flu. This one's, the funny one is always like, this one's the zombie apocalypse. This one's this one's this, this one's that. And you basically have to eradicate that from the board. And you can do things to make it super difficult where there's no way you can win. Or you can make it a little easier where there's a chance you could win. But it's a cooperative game versus a competitive game, which is a lot of fun, especially when you get a couples night or something like that together. It can really break the ice. Or also I usually bring it out whenever the family comes in from out of town, and we're just like, we can watch a movie or we can play a board game, and I would much rather fellowship and spend the time around a board game. More memories are there versus all of us just staring at a movie for 2 hours. Ticket to Ride, I think it's a good entry-level board game.
Cool.
Versus like Catan or Pandemic or some of these other ones, which are really, really cool, or like Survive the Night is another one. So those are all some great things to like look at. But start with Ticket to Ride.
Cool.
That's like a good one.
Definitely.
That's not like that classic Sorry or Candyland or something like that.
That's definitely moved up my list of games to check out.
My next thing, and this one's for Dad, is the Orbit Key. I have had an Orbit Key for about 2 years now, and I love this thing. It doesn't seem like much, and it really is not. It is a pin that you can fit your keys on, and a piece of leather, and then a fastener, and that's really it. And it keeps all your keys in one place. I also have a USB 3 dongle that fits in there that you can buy from the manufacturer. That's from Orbit Key. That's like 128 gigs, I think. But anyway, it keeps all my keys in this little easy to add, easy to subtract little container, and it covers them up. And I just love it. It just keeps it nice and simple. And then I just hang my key fob off the little D-ring that's on the leather.
Sure.
And that's my keys. And I know that, my first key is the key to the house. My second key is the key to the outside of my studio. And then the third key is the inside of my studio. And then the fourth key is, it's like I know where everything is. I don't even have to look at it. I can feel it in my hand.
How much does this cost? $35, I think, for the one you're describing?
They are different prices. If you go to orbitkey.com is the website, and they have different prices anywhere from like $43.50, so like $45, $40. Then they have $25 ones, and then you can get all the little secondary things as well.
I've been paying attention to something called a key bar. For a while there, I was watching a bunch of survivalist YouTube videos, and they would, do a bunch of product demos. And occasionally I'd hear about this key bar thing. And basically it's like a Swiss Army knife that you assemble, but with your keys. Now, I guess I never looked at the prices because these things are $50 to $75. But looking at your Orbit key, I mean, this is maybe half, maybe less than that, maybe $23 to $35. And I mean, it does everything with the leather strap that this.
Yeah, because you can get the jet black basic, which is, it's not leather, it's kind of a sports band rubber kind of thing for like $25. Now, I have the leather version, which I paid, I think I got into it when it was a Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
And so I paid less than this, but I got the brown version, so it's like $40 now, and it's lasted 2 years, and there's no sign of wear on it. I mean, it looks great. And then I have I guess I didn't get the USB because they only go up to 32 gigs. So I didn't get the USB from Orbit. So I would recommend not getting this. I would recommend getting. Yeah, where are my keys? Yeah, I'm gonna get out my keys right now.
I've been keeping my eye on key bar, but this looks like a much more.
I've got a LaCie one that's 128 gigs. Now I paid probably more than $35 for it, but it fits in there just fine.
Well, good.
And it's 100 and it's over 100 gigs. So
I'm gonna have to check this out because one thing I'm looking at. A couple of years ago, my wallet was giving me it was it was a real pain in the ass.
Was it doing a Costanza on you?
Well, it wasn't that bad. I mean, to be honest, it was just kind of a regular wallet size. I mean, I had a couple cards in there. Anyways, I streamlined down to a real slim wallet. And this one is ridiculously slim, but my butt doesn't hurt anymore. So I'm always looking for ways to streamline even my keys, because right now, like a keychain, you shove it in your pocket and you've got 4 or 5 keys jabbing you in the leg all day. This would be a way to consolidate those keys at an acceptable price and minimize the amount of space it takes up in my pocket, because I like to carry a pocket knife. I like to carry a lighter just to be prepared. And this would help me. I am enjoying these recommendations today, Wyatt. These are good. I'm adding this to my cart. This is
So I really like the Orbit key, and and again, they've held up well. And really, the only key that I have that sticks out is my car keys.
Yeah,
like just because that it's huge, because it has the open and close auto lock on it. It's just huge, so it won't fit in that, but. The house keys, the office keys, the shed and the back keys, the USB key, even you can get a multi-tool and a can opener that you can put in there. So again, you were talking about being prepared, and I always have my Leatherman. I usually have a backpack. I've got my e-bag.
Yeah, you've got all your stuff
I carry
with
around.
You.
Yeah, I got all my stuff with me like 95% of the time, and because I don't like to have things in my pocket. So, and I like to streamline because I don't even have a wallet. I have a iPhone case, that's my wallet.
Good for you.
So it's just the phone, the phones, the wallet, the keys, and you're not getting jabbed all the time. And then what I really like is that I don't have to even look at my keys. I can just flick them out, and I know exactly through touch where things are. So you're trying to get into the house at night. You're talking about being prepared. I don't have to look down at my keys.
Yeah.
I can keep my head on a swivel. I mean, I live in the center of the city.
You're not going to get mugged.
No, exactly. Well,
Knock
and
on wood.
that's a thing. Like I actually think about. It's like when I come up, because sometimes, I'm on set really, really late.
Yeah.
I come home at 2:00 in the morning, or I'm in an edit, and I forget about time, and I come home. Even tonight, it's going to be past 1:00 in the morning before I get home.
Jeez.
So to keep my head on the swivel to make sure that somebody's not going to come up behind me.
Listeners out there, this might be a good gift for your wife. I know my wife has a ridiculous keychain. This would help her, and like you were just saying, it's a little bit of protection. Get you in the car, get you in the house faster.
And these things will take quite a few keys, but the beauty of it, and I think that there's something that we as men excel at, is that if you give us limitations, we will thrive in it. And giving you limitations like you can only fit so many keys on this thing. Like a normal keychain, you could become the janitor.
Yeah.
With the keychain that's connected to another ring of keys, that's connected to another ring of keys. That's what my wife has, and it just drives me mad.
And a lot of it is like, I've got keys to maybe like the last house, or something that I don't even use anymore, a storage building or something that key has no purpose being on my key ring, but it's there because it can be there.
Or a key that you use, like I have a key to the back shed. It's like, I use that once a month. Why is that on my everyday carry?
That's a good point.
Like, there is no reason for that. So having a keychain with all those keys, I do have that, and that's on a hook, and I know exactly where that is. But your everyday keys that you're going to use 80% of the time need to be in a place where you can get to them all the time. And that's what I love the Orbit key. That's why I love having my my 12 sheets, my pad and quill case for my iPhone, because it limits me to how many cards I can carry, how much cash, how much ID, just like everything has to have a place, and it's all small and consolidated because I've limited myself, not because I couldn't go and buy a bigger wallet, not because I couldn't have a bigger place. It's like I've personally said, this is going to be my limit, and I'm going to find a way to work within that limit. And I keep paring down my life with that philosophy. Like, just keep cutting stuff out, limit yourself, and see if you can survive. And if you can't survive, then expand. But if you can survive, oh, great. Well, boom, you've just saved money, or you've saved time, or you've saved the pain of not having a USB key, like being able to transfer some files over.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. That thing has saved my bacon so many times.
You know what?
I love it.
We'll have to have this conversation sometime, but a couple of years ago, I tried to have the phone wallet, and it was great for a while, but it just made my phone huge, and I didn't like it. And plus, I kind of stood, like, my mentality was I'd hate the idea of somebody stealing my phone and taking my entire life with it. So I've.
But if you're going to get mugged, they're going to take everything.
True. But if they're going to, like, grab my phone, like, at least they're not getting everything.
But I can track my phone.
All right. Well, like I said, a conversation for another day.
That's a conversation for another day. Richard, where can people find us?
Let me see. Where can people find us? All right. People can find us.
We're everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. We're everywhere. You can email us at legionofdads@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow at Legion of Dads on Twitter. And like and subscribe to Legion of Dads on iTunes, or visit legionofdads.com.
And at the end of each show, we like to end with our last laugh, our dad joke of the week. And this week, I have a dad joke.
What you got?
So, Richard, what did the buffalo say to his son when he went off to college?
What did the buffalo say to his son when he went off to college?
Bye, son.
Ugh. Good night, folks.
Legion out.